And staying with President Trump, the commander-in-chief signed an executive order banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. The order signed on Wednesday has been titled "Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports." Now, apart from the ban, it also gives federal agencies the authority to only allocate resources for institutes that abide by the order.
Okay, good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Nice to see you all. Great going, everybody. With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over. Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
The order also gives the Department of Education the power to investigate schools and colleges that do not comply. Federal funding will be halted to those schools where the Trump administration suspects institutions are not in compliance.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding.
Now, the latest order is part of President Trump's crackdown on what he calls woke gender ideology. In fact, Donald Trump has already signed multiple executive orders, including declaring that the U.S. only recognizes two genders, male and female, banning gender care and transition surgeries for minors, banning transgender people from the U.S. military, moving transgender women to men's prisons, and denying passport applications for gender-neutral people. Now, in addition to all of this, President Trump announced another restriction for the trans community on Wednesday, this time restricting entry to foreigners who identify as trans and want to compete in sports in the United States.
I'm also directing our Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, who's also she's out there with you, Greg, a fantastic job. She's unbelievable. I was watching her riding yesterday on a horse. She was as good as anybody. She's very good. To deny any and all visa applications made by men attempting to fraudulently enter the United States while identifying themselves as women athletes, try and get into the games maybe where they are unable to get into the games.
Now, it must be noted that the timing of the signing of the executive order also coincided with the National Girls and Women in Sports Day. However, with at least 5 executive orders targeting LGBTQ plus people already in place, one question remains: how much more will the president target members of a community that already face marginalization and discrimination?